again. Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, I'm also extremely pleased to be here to participate for the very first time at the Kirkenes conference at the top of the European continent. And your focus on this conference on the Barents region is logical. It's your home. It's the place you're most affected. And what I heard in these 2 days already is a very special place and a particular importance for Norway and also for Finland and other countries. But I would like in my brief presentation demonstrate that for the European Union, the Barents region is also very special. It is a region which matters to the European Union, and I would say that the European Union matters equally for the region. So I will explain why it's so special. In the first place, the Barents region is integrated in the European and global economies and structures. Part of the Barents region is part of the territory of the European Union. It's part of 3 member states of the European Union, which are Arctic states, Denmark, Sweden and Finland. But also it's part of Norway. Norway is, you know, it's not a member of the European Union, but is part of the European Economic Area, which we have an extremely close relationship. This concretely means that a part of the Barents is the European Union. And this implies equally that our legislation of the European Union, which is very extensive, applies also to a part of the Barents region. Yesterday, for example, the big pollution of plastic was mentioned here in the conference. Now we have in the European Union very strict legislation on circular economy and fighting this kind of pollutants which affect the Arctic and the Barents region, but also the positive aspects of having extensive programs of the European Union in support of the region. And a third element is that the European Union as a legislator is also a key player in multilateral settings. Does it work? The European Union is also a key player in multilateral settings and participates, for example, in negotiations on climate change, and the outcome affects equally, I would say, the North. And we are active in regional cooperation. Regional cooperation is absolutely key in all the policies, I would say, of the European Union. And we are a member of the Barents Euro-Arctic Council, but also we participate actively in the Arctic Council. And here I would like to pay tribute to the extremely dynamic chairmanship of Finland for the moment. So in short, the Barents region is very much affected by and integrated into the European and global economies and structures. A second reason why the Barents is so special is that the policy of the European Union on the Arctic applies also on the Euro-Arctic Barents region. And here I would like to mention that the basic principle of the Arctic policy of the European Union, as formulated in the global security strategy of the European Union, is that the Arctic must remain an area of low tension, of peace and security based on constructive cooperation. Our Arctic policy, which applies to this region equally, has 3 major pillars. The first one is fighting climate change and addressing the fragile environment of the Arctic. Secondly, sustainable development. And in this context, people are at the heart of our policy. And the third element is promotion of cooperation regionally and internationally. Now, inside the Barents region, and I would say, and I listened carefully to the discussions this morning by the 2 ministers, but I would say that in contrast to other and more remote parts of the vast Arctic area, and indeed I know the Canadian Arctic very well, the Barents region is relatively well integrated, well connected in terms of infrastructure, energy grid, telecommunication, education institutions, and I had the pleasure, I know that the rector of the University of Tromsø is here. I was very impressed when I met her in Tromsø. So you have, I would say, you have also a lot of cross-border cooperation. We had recently a stakeholder forum in Brussels, which produced a report on what should the European Union focus on, invest in the North in the coming years. And I would say there were several suggestions, but one was outstanding, and that's more connectivity in the north. More connectivity, and I think this corresponded very well also to discussion this morning. So a wider and deeper integration across the Barents region is possible and desirable, and this will profit not only the Barents region itself locally, but will also be an inspiration for other parts of the Arctic. This having said, we consider that there are some challenges in our Arctic policy, which particularly would say applies to this part of the Arctic, to the urban Arctic, and that is to get a good balance between the objectives of preserving the environment and at the same time ensuring sustainable economic development. It was said by the previous speaker, the Arctic here, the urban Arctic, there are 4 million people living, and for them economic development is absolutely key. I know that also in Brussels, that when we speak about the Arctic, and there are sometimes some presentations, the first thing they show, it's ice and a polar bear. But it's not at all the Arctic, the European Arctic. And therefore this balancing challenge is key to us, and the European Union Arctic policy advocates a commitment to both preserving and the precaution part, along with the use and the development and economic development. And in this regard, science, technology and innovation are for us a very important part, key factors, and smart development is what we should strive for. And to my mind, the Barents region is best placed to lead on the path of smart, sustainable development under the harsh conditions in the Arctic. I said when I mentioned sustainable development that an essential part is involving the people of the region, the people who live here and work in the region, and a constructive dialogue is absolutely necessary. Indigenous people and the local people who have been in the Arctic, in this specific region for thousands of years, it must be possible to engage them and involve them to adjust, for example, projects to assist their traditional, to ensure that their traditional livelihood, their local traditional knowledge and culture is being preserved. And if this is done wisely here, it certainly will be noticed across the globe. If it fails here, that will also be noticed. So people should be at the heart of any Arctic policy. We do not only have a policy, we also have a very substantial supporting cooperation. And this is one of my main tasks, I would say, of my mandate, is to give visibility what we do. It's a general weakness of the European Union that we do not make a lot of publicity about what we do, and we do sometimes good things. Here in the north, for example, we have our European Union Regional Development Fund, which has a budget of 1.5 billion European euros, which includes, it's for the period 2014-2020, which includes Northern Periphery and Arctic programs. I will not go into details, but I am in a position to give you a lot of concrete examples. We also have the European Northern and Neighbourhood programs with very successful cross-border programs. And last but not least, we have the European Union Science, Technology and Innovation Program. The European Union has the biggest science program of the world, more than 88 billion euros, and we have also a substantial part which is focused on research in the Arctic. And we are going to organize European Union together with Germany and Finland in Berlin, the second science ministerial on the Arctic. The third reason why Barents is special to us and is a very important region because the Barents Cooperation is a success story. I participated in November at the Barents Euro-Arctic Council Ministerial in Arkhangelsk, where the Russian chairmanship was passed to the Swedish one. And I was really struck by how positive the cooperation is in the Barents region. I would say one of the elements why it's so successful is because it's a lot region to region and sub-region cooperation. I know that Finnmark now has the chairmanship of the Regional Council. A second element is that you have very successful cross-border programs and also people-to-people contacts. The Swedish chairmanship will have a focus on youth, which I think is extremely important. And last but certainly not least, and Siri, she referred to my mission to Moscow, the Barents is special because the Barents region allows a constructive European Union-Russia cooperation within very difficult international context. And when I was in Moscow last week, somebody was referring to the clouds that we have in our relationship. I think that was expressed in a very diplomatic way. But working together in the Arctic, in the Barents region, is for us in the interest of the European Union, of Russia, and of the Barents region itself, and it's possible. And we have several programs which include also Norway and Russia with very positive outcomes. For example, we have a well-known Arktisk cross-border program which funds many projects here in the region. We have the Northern Dimension Environment Partnership. The Northern Dimension program has been mentioned this morning here, where we have been working in the Andreva Bay, where we contribute to eliminating nuclear waste, and Murmansk, where I was on Monday, and I had the experience also to pass the border here in a very fluent way. I visited one of the projects, cross-border cooperation projects, which deals with oil spill response. So we have many positive examples, and I would like to stress that this is important because given the clouds in our relationship, we do not have a lot of possibilities of cooperation, but this is an area where we see an interest for both. Being in Moscow and in Murmansk, we think that particularly we would like to strengthen our cooperation with Russia in two areas. We have already a cooperation, but to strengthen it, to address black carbon. Black carbon is a very bad pollutant here in the region, and we already have programs on it. We would like Russia to cooperate on it, also under the Northern Dimension program. And we also would like to strengthen cooperation along the Northern Sea route, where I had very good contacts with Rosatom. In conclusion, yes, the Barents region is a central part of our Arctic policy. The Barents region can be a model for sustainable development and can demonstrate that high environment standards and fighting climate change can go hand in hand with ambitious economic sustainable goals. And the Barents region is a showcase of constructive European Union-Russia cooperation in a difficult geopolitical environment. So I would say happy anniversary to the Barents cooperation, and I will be looking forward to participate in the joint celebration on the 5th of June in Brussels. Thank you.